Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about the S25 Ultra versus the S23 Ultra and what are the benefits to actually upgrading. Should you upgrade here? I think this is actually going to be the toughest sale because the S23 Ultra is such a great phone, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see what S23 users actually think of this upgrade. So we do get a $750 trade-in currently right now for an S23. And yeah, so let's go ahead and go over the hardware differences here. We do have a slightly, different design. We do have a less, boxy design. So far, the design looks like it's 50-50. A lot of people don't like the new S25 Ultra design, and a lot of people do. I do prefer the boxier design that they were doing, but the S25 is definitely more comfortable to hold. It doesn't kind of like poke the palm like the S23 Ultra does. But yeah, I do like that boxier shape. I think it looks a little bit more unique. The cameras have been slightly, changed here as far as the look. As you guys can see, the rings are just a lot thicker on here. Again, which you may or may not like here, but they're both IP68 dust and water resistant as well. And yeah, design-wise, let's see. Almost about the same height with the, yeah, they're virtually on, yeah, pretty much the same height. Same width. Yeah, so that is basically all with the hardware. And then we have to talk about the S Pen. So I've already, gone over this in a couple other comparisons, but if you don't know, the Bluetooth capability is gone from the S25 Ultra here. Now with the S23 Ultra here, you guys can see we have air actions, and that is going to be gone on the S25. So you can do, these air actions here. And for example, you can take pictures with the Bluetooth pen. We just snap a photo, or we can, if we went into a music application and we wanted to like change the songs and stuff like that. So you guys basically, get the gist of it. Yeah, that is completely gone on the S25 here. So you can see it's not there, and it feels much lighter as well too. I really don't really like how light it feels. It kind of makes it feel a little bit cheap. But yeah, that's just something to note about the S Pen, just in case you are someone who really uses it. But besides that, the rest of the S Pen features are there. Let's talk about the displays here. So we do have some slight display upgrades. So I'll start with the S25 Ultra here. It does have a 6.8-inch display. It is a dynamic AMOLED display, and it is 120 Hz HDR10 Plus. This does go up to 1750 nits peak brightness. It's 1440p, 540 ppi with the Gorilla Glass Victus 2. It is a curved panel as well. It is a slightly curved. It's not like a super dramatic curve. And then we also have a 6.9-inch display, so the display has gotten just a little bit bigger. And you guys can see like that bezel difference there. So there's like a noticeable bezel difference with the S25 Ultra. They've gotten it to where it's actually pretty impressive how thin it is. And then it is a dynamic LTPO AMOLED display, 120 Hz HDR10 Plus. This one is 2600 nits peak brightness, so it is a brighter display outdoors. So if it's like very sunny outside, you're at the beach or something, the S25 Ultra will look, it'll be easier to look at. It'll be easier to view. And then you also do have 1440p, 498 for the PPI, and a stronger glass here, the Gorilla Glass Armor 2. And then you also have that reflecting coating on the S25. It just helps with reflection, and it definitely does work for sure. So that's also another little cool thing here. As far as the colors and everything goes, they look the same. The quality of the panels pretty much look the same. So there's not really a major difference with display. It's really just the aesthetics of the, smaller bezels, and that is basically it. The LTPO display will help with battery life a little bit, but the S23, we're going to talk about that, but it already has pretty good battery life. So I would say the display upgrade to me is pretty minimal. The only real upgrade here is probably just the max brightness, it just being brighter outdoors. Everything else, it feels pretty much the same. And you may or may not prefer like a lot of people like this more boxier shape of the display too. So yeah, it just really comes down to your personal preference. But as far as display quality, there's not really a real upgrade here. So let's talk about these specs a little bit more here. The CPU difference here, as you guys can see, it is, you know, a pretty decent, you know, gap here, but like I said, you really have to take advantage of this power here, especially when we go to our GPU. You know, the GPU has significantly, you know, going up, especially with these benchmarks here. So you do get overall like a really nice GPU upgrade, but overall the spec upgrade here as far as speed and gaming performance is not really going to matter if you're not more of a heavier user, guys. So the S23 Ultra has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. It's running Android 14. It will get a 4-year pledge. And then we have 256 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. We have the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor over here, Android 15. This will get a 7-year pledge. And then we also have 256 gigs on the base model and 12 gigs of RAM here. As far as speed goes, they are pretty similar, guys, in terms of speed and animations. The S23 does not feel slow by any means. I am going to put out full speed tests for my like power users, but just in general, guys, like the actual like animations and stuff, the actual speed of getting into stuff, it feels virtually the same, and it'll feel even better once the S23 gets the One UI 7 update. So it's not like, you know, I don't think it's really a big, you know, difference here as far as opening and closing apps. Even if we start running like a bunch of stuff, the S23 Ultra is still pretty efficient. I don't really have heating issues with this phone as well. So I would say as far as speed, the difference, you really won't notice it. Even if you're more of a power user, the S23 Ultra still does a very good job. That's what I said, you would really have to be like doing, I don't know, like emulators, because you can still play PUBG at 120 frames, as I'll show you guys. Like I said, we don't have those heating problems. That's why I said this is a tough sell when it comes to the CPU. You would really have to be doing some intense stuff on your phone, like really high res video editing. But like I said, you could still do that on the S23. So for games like PUBG, we can run this at 120 frames, you know, on the S23 Ultra. So there's really no difference here. Like I said, I don't really have heating problems. So even if you're a competitive gamer, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 still does a very good job at playing, you know, most games, even emulators, stuff like that. So I would say as far as like speed, it's not really a big deal. Like I said, you would really have to, you know, be taking advantage of this processor. It's, like I said, it's pretty difficult to take advantage of such a massive upgrade here so far. But like, there could like be some intense games come out in a few years or something like that. But for right now, I just don't see like the average person usually is typically like playing PUBG or emulators and stuff like that. And it still runs really well on the S23 Ultra. And also the AI stuff. So the AI stuff is here, and it works really well. You do have it on the S23 Ultra. So you're not really missing out when it comes to a lot of the AI stuff. Basically the same stuff is here. So pretty much get all the same stuff. So as far as the AI features, you're not really getting new AI stuff for the most part. All the essential stuff is here. Alright, so we got the speakers max volume. We'll start with the S23. Yeah, so the S25 is definitely the louder speaker, but I do like the overall sound better on the S23 Ultra. It has kind of like a more crispy sound. Dolby Atmos is off on both of these. Yeah, but the bass is louder on the S25. It's overall just louder, but I don't really like the sound. You could probably equalize it to get sound kind of close to the S23 Ultra. But both speakers are actually very good. So yeah, the S25 is definitely louder, but you could kind of tweak the sound to get it to sound like the S23, because I do like the way everything else sounds on the S23. Now the fingerprint scanner and stuff like that is virtually been the same for years, so that's not any different. And the face unlock has been pretty much the same as well. Alright, so I really think that this comparison really comes down to the actual camera quality, because so far, you know, I'm just not like super impressed with making this upgrade to like recommend it. So it really comes down to what you guys think of the actual cameras here. So on the S23, we have a 200 megapixel standard. It is also a 10 megapixel telephoto. It does have 3 times optical, and then a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can shoot in 8K 24 and 30. You also have a 12 megapixel selfie that can shoot in 4K 60. On the S25, we do have a slightly beefier, you know, setup here. It's a 200 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel telephoto, 3 times optical, and then a 50 megapixel periscope telephoto, and then that is 5 times optical. They both can go up to 100 times zoom. And then we also do have a 50 megapixel ultra wide here, and then we also have an 8K 24 and 30, and then it also has a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. So yeah, you do have these higher resolution, you know, cameras on here, but does that translate to just better pictures in everyday real life? Check out these side-by-side stills and video. So the battery life is slightly better on the S25 Ultra, but I don't think it's that much better to where it's upgrade worthy in my opinion, because the S23 Ultra doesn't have bad battery life. The battery life is actually pretty good on the S23 Ultra, so I've never had like a battery issue with this phone, and the standby time is also pretty good. They both have 5,000 milliamp hour batteries. They both have wireless and reverse wireless charging, but yeah, the overall battery situation, yes, you will get better screen on time, but I don't think it's dramatically better than the S23 Ultra. So yeah, so this is a tough comparison. It's kind of hard to recommend this if you're coming from an S23 Ultra to upgrade to an S25 here. It really depends on, you know, what you are looking for. Some people might want the 7 years of OS updates with the S25. You might like the beefier processor, but the issue with that is that most people won't be able to take advantage of the power of this chip anyway. And yeah, the upgrade to me, I don't think this is an actual good upgrade, guys. I think you should keep your S23 Ultra and wait till the S26 or something like that. And yeah, that's what I would do, because I just don't see a big enough difference here.